Good evening, everyone. Are we doing good? I hope you've had a good day, and if you haven't, I think you're going to have a good evening. The energy level is high. There's a lot of excitement. I really hate to call us to order because everyone's enjoying visiting so much, but we want to attempt to stay on schedule this evening. At this time, I would like to introduce Dr. Sethna. Dr. Madvi has been married to Baruch for 38 years. She is a UWG, yes, thank you. Come on up, Michael. She's a UWG faculty member who has earned her MBA, MA, MS, and doctorate in education, and has won several awards for teaching excellence. For 19 years, she has been First Lady, Den Mother, and Ambassador at Large for UWG. Madvi will now open our program with an ancient Sanskrit invocation for a place of learning. Please join me as we welcome Dr. Madvi Sethna.
If my voice stays with me, I'd like to recite this for you. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Punaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. And for those of you who don't know Sanskrit, just a few of you, may the Lord protect us together. May He nourish us together. May we work together, uniting our strength for the good of the humanity. May our learning be luminous and purposeful. May we never hate one another. Om, may there be peace, peace, peace. Thank you.
these facilities and to declare open this University Stadium and athletics complex. This is open.
By the authority vested in me by the Board of Regents of the University System of Georgia, and upon the recommendation of the faculty of the University of West Georgia, it is my pleasure and privilege to confer upon each one of you the bachelor's degree for which you have been recommended as listed in the official records of the university, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereunto appertaining. Congratulations to each one of you. Tassels to the left.
We are on the cusp of a very exciting event. The Board of Regents has just defined West Georgia as part of a robust tier of comprehensive universities, which we call doctoral comprehensive universities, that can help lead the state of Georgia into the future. I believe that West Georgia is eminently suited to be part of this robust tier of institutions that will attract students, good students, who want to be here as a first choice destination university.
The name of the ceremony is called Commencement. The name of the ceremony, you can check your programs if you like, is not the end. It's called a commencement ceremony because something very, very special is starting today. Something very special for you, the rest of your lives is starting. But also a relationship between us is getting more solidified. I hope all of you sitting here in front of me believe that the University of West Georgia has made many contributions to your life. What a wonderful video. I congratulate all those who made that. There'll be another occasion for me to come up and thank you. So this is not it, but but I do want to say thanks for that wonderful video. Thank you, Daniel.
You bet. I'm sitting there thinking this is going to kill him to have to sit there tonight and listen to others talk. So he couldn't stand it. I knew it. I knew it. You know what? We are dressed up, and this is a banquet event. We're supposed to be sophisticated, but let's southernize it, and let's enjoy this, and let's relax. and it's okay to laugh and clap when appropriate. And we're going to celebrate the presidency of Dr. Baru Sethna this evening. Okay? All right. I've been given some notes for introducing our speakers, but beyond that, they said just do what you do. And I'm not sure what that means, but I'm going to take the opportunity to do a couple of things. Many of us in this room know many of this in this room, but we've got some guests here, and perhaps we don't know everybody. So very quickly, let's do this, just so we get a feel for who all we've got here, if that's okay. First of all, let's recognize the Sethna family. All of those who are here as part of the Sethna family, would you please stand? Let us welcome and recognize you all. Welcome back home for somebody. It's good to see you. Second of all, we've got a lot of university folk in the room. So those who are part of the university family, would you please stand and let us see where you are this evening. We've got a room full of folks who live and work in this community, Carroll Countyans and those who consider this your home for employment, where you live, work, play. Stand up and let's see where everybody is this evening. All Carroll County folks. Good. You know, as I came in, I saw there were cones with some elected officials. I have no idea who's in the room, so let's do it this way. I know that we have some elected officials guests with us. Please stand and let us recognize where you are this evening. All of our elected officials, please stand. And finally, and let's especially recognize these folks and pick them out and be sure and offer a warm Carroll County chamber greeting, if you will, later on this evening. But we do have guests who are not from our community. We're delighted they're here this evening. Guests, if you're not those who've already been recognized and you're here to join us from outside of our boundaries, please stand and let us welcome and recognize you. Excellent. Welcome. Okay, let's get going here. Our first speaker of the evening is Chancellor Henry Hank Huckabee. Chancellor Huckabee is the university system's 12th chancellor, selected by the Board of Regents in May of 2011. He oversees 31 public colleges and universities with a $6.5 billion annual budget, 43,000 faculty and staff fulfilling the teaching, research, and public service mission to 314,000 students. Chancellor is a board member of the Georgia Chamber of Commerce, the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce, and the Georgia Partnership for Excellence in Education. Chancellor Huckabee earned both his bachelor's and master's degrees from Georgia State University. He continued his education through additional graduate studies at the University of Georgia. Would you join me as we welcome our Chancellor, Hank Huckabee?
Thank you and good evening. It's certainly a joy and pleasure to be here. In fact, my feelings would have been hurt if I hadn't been invited because this is a very special occasion, in some ways a bittersweet occasion. I do appreciate two Barus, and I know you do as well, that three of your presidential colleagues are here to share this evening with you. Renville Watterson, who's the interim president at Georgia Highlands, Tim Hines, who many of you know from his years here, president of Clayton State, and Kendall Blanchard, who blames Barus for bringing him to the university system, but he is the president down at Georgia Southwestern. I bring you greetings tonight, not only for myself, but for really all of the members of the Board of Regents of the University System of Georgia. Ken Bernard asked me to particularly extend his appreciation for your service and also his apologies for not being able to be here. Something came up at the last moment. But each member of the Board of Regents is very appreciative for Barus's career. In fact, a former member of the Board of Regents and former chair, Willis Potts, I believe is over to my right, from Rome, Georgia. He wanted to come down and share this evening with you tonight. I will say in so many ways, I have some history with West Georgia. I can remember in the early 70s, I came to West Georgia for a job interview. Barus, I didn't get the job. But I have not held that against West Georgia. Clearly, the last 19 years of Baruch's career as president has been an outstanding one. This school, this community, the faculty and the students who've been here have benefited from his service. We've all seen this school go from a junior college, in so many ways, not well known, to a university status that is at the doctoral level. He's not only expanded the depth and quality of the program here, he's increased the size of the school, and it continues to grow. In fact, someone said tonight, he asked me, he said, "Has Baruch asked you about so-and-so yet?" I said, "No, but I'm confident he will." From time to time, I do have president meetings, all 31 of them, and it's an interesting group. Sometimes some presidents are a little shy. They sit on their hands, but I have never had to worry about that from Baruch. He's a very articulate, thoughtful. In fact, Baruch many times has had more answers than I've had questions. But he's always a joy to be with and talk with, and he'll send me an email from time to time that he just needs 5 minutes. I know that's a lie, but I call him back anyway, and it's never about one thing. It's never about one thing. You can't see me, Baruch, on the other end of the phone, but I always get out my pad and pencil because I want to write every issue down to be sure I get it correctly. But needless to say, he's had a sterling career here as president. He's been called on 2 different occasions to be executive vice chancellor, pinch hit at the system level, and has always done a sterling job. He's someone that's respected and appreciated by his colleagues as he is in this community. He's someone who is going to be missed as president. But as you noticed in most of those slides, Baruch was talking. He can listen sometime, but he prefers to talk because he is going to end up, I think, where he started, with his first love being that of teaching, being that of having an impact on molding the lives and careers of his students. And I'm so pleased that as his tenure as president comes to a close, he still will be among us, teaching, mentoring students, and continuing to make an impact on not only this institution, but the state of Georgia for generations to come. Congratulations, Baruch. Thank you for your service, and thank you for what you will continue to do for the citizens of this state. God bless you.
Chancellor, we thank you, and I think we're all pleased to know, in addition to the toasting, there will be a little roasting tonight as well, so that's a good thing. We have another guest who's not officially on the program. We're delighted that he could come and be with us tonight, and that's former Chancellor Errol Davis. Errol B. Davis, Superintendent of Atlanta Public Schools now, formerly served as Chancellor of the University System of Georgia from 2006 to 2011. A native of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Davis earned a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from Carnegie Mellon University in 1965 and an MBA in Finance from the University of Chicago in 1967. Would you join me as we welcome Errol B. Davis?
Thank you very much. I want to say a few things about Baruch. I generally don't like people who can wear the same suit size for 20 years. I haven't figured that one out yet. They only gave me 2 minutes, so I'm going to say 2 things, and I'm sort of unscripted, so that's dangerous as well. The first is I want to say to Baruch, on behalf of the people of this state, on behalf of the university system, thank you for all that you have done for this state. And I also want to thank you for what you have done for me personally and for your family, for my family. When I came in 2006, Dan Papp was my chief academic officer at the time, and for some reason he thought it would be better to go be president of Kennesaw than to be my chief academic officer. And at that point in time, I had about 2 months total experience in higher education. And so I needed a chief academic officer. And Hank was right, I already had one of those president's meetings, and they were filled with interesting presidents. And interesting, of course, is a term you used to describe ugly babies. There was one president in there who Hank just validated was not afraid to speak up, sometimes afraid to not speak up, but he also was unafraid to challenge the things that I had said, and I said, that's the guy I would like to have work for me. And so he graciously agreed to come and be chief academic officer on a temporary basis for about 15 months. And of course, as an inducement, I promised that we would put him in an apartment. And so I asked my chief of staff, Rob Watts at the time, to find Behrooz an apartment. And I would ask Behrooz periodically, how's it going in the apartment? And he'd say, fine, great. And little did I find out until later that we had put him in a dorm room at Georgia Tech. And one of those dorms on the expressway that then belonged to Georgia State, which was being renovated, and he was the last tenant in this huge dorm, and he never complained. And so, Behrooz, I do want to thank you. I mentioned it. The second point is I often wondered who is the real Behrooz, and it was really cool because I saw this program and it said he was one of Georgia's most influential people. And I found that humorous because I did tell him one time, whenever you're feeling influential, you should try ordering someone else's dog around. But he obviously is a leader, but also I believe a hallmark of good leadership is developing others. He gave us not only great service here, he nurtured Tim Hines through puberty, and Tim went on to be, of course, the president of Clayton State University. And Behrooz, thank you for that as well. But the thing that, when I ask who is Behrooz most, I really don't think of college president. I really don't think of leader. I think of what it says on the first page about celebrating 19 years, and that is a teacher. If you ever have received Behrooz's business card, you know. For those of you who haven't received it, and you wonder what it says on a president's business card, Behrooz's says Professor of Marketing and President of University of West Georgia, which again points out what he believes is the most important thing that he can do, and that is nurture and mold young minds. And I always admired that in him, and I always admired his capacity to do that not only well, but excellently. So Behrooz, thank you for all your contributions. Best of luck to you in this next phase of your life, and I know Madhvi is here to take care of you in your declining years, again, so you'll be in good hands, so thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Earl Davis. This time I'd like to introduce, for many of us there's no introduction necessary, but Bob Stone. Bob Stone's founder of Systems and Methods Incorporated. He formed SMI in 1971 by providing timeshare data processing services for area businesses. He's received many honors and awards from numerous organizations, city, county, and state level, including the Rotary Club of Carrollton Ethics Award, Carroll County Chamber of Commerce Citizen of the Year, and the Sam Walton Business Leader Award. He's a strong friend and supporter of University of West Georgia. He's received many honors from UWG, which include being named an honorary alumnus and a Beta Gamma Sigma honoree. In 2012, Bob received the University of West Georgia Honorary Doctorate of Humane Letters degree. Would you join me as we welcome Bob Stone?
It's quite an honor to be here this evening. It's even more of an honor to follow the two speakers that I shall follow. And what was it you said, Errol, about, or Hank, I forget which one, about guiding someone through puberty? I'm not sure he made it. But Baruz will have a lot of time to take up the slack. Seriously, what I want to talk about very, very shortly is Dr. Baruz Sethna. Baruz is the University of West Georgia's hands-on president. My first recollection of Baruz is a Times Georgian photograph with his head inside the trunk of a parent's car and his hand on the suitcase handle, helping to remove the belongings of an entering freshman. Baruz was also new on campus. I knew then we had a different kind of president, and we certainly do. That, my friends, is an understatement. You saw the pictures. You know how he gets involved with everything, everywhere. Hank talked about phone calls during the day. Hank, I don't understand. I always got emails at 2 a.m. But maybe he went the other way. Those hands on the suitcase handle were symbols of his presidency at UWG. From crafting a visionary statement that placed the needs and the success of the student first and foremost, to the historic infrastructure expansion of the university, his hands have continually stirred the pot. No president since Ingram has lasted this long, survived as much criticism, or accomplished as much. Baruz was never the type to sit behind his desk waiting for the next project. He always has several going at once, whether urging the expansion of the arts and science programs to include more doctorates, working with major donors for the School of Business, or community development in Newman to achieve a historic expansion of the School of Nursing. His hands would fly through the late night and early morning hours, disseminating emails to complete that vision. Those tireless hands, coupled with a brilliant mind, were always at work building the UWG brand. Even when the university system office tried to steal his talents away, his heart remained loyal to UWG. As they've said, he still taught courses. That's why he didn't complain about the suite at the dorm. He was never there. He always came back to teach. Regents, academic deans, donors, coaches, mayors, county commissioners, and even the governor have all been subject to Baruz's hands on the PowerPoint, and we've all experienced that. And we've all had to dig deep in our abilities, our budgets, in some cases our pockets, to achieve the UWG of Baruz's vision. I and several others became a victim of his vision to revamp the athletic program at UWG. The stadium project began, and I want you to listen to this, the stadium project began as a $3 million effort to bring the Wolves home to West Georgia. And in our naivety, we thought $3 million was going to be pretty difficult to achieve. We just didn't know or anticipate what Baruz had in mind. If you look around up on that hill, we have a $36 billion athletic complex, which is a showcase for universities. And that, my friends, is just a sample of how he thinks. For all these accomplishments, the cost to Baruz was great. 18 years or 19 years of 16 to 20-hour days, a heart attack, limited quality time with 2 wonderful children, and in 19 years, not single one, and this he confessed to me not too long ago. In all 19 years, he and Madhvi had never sat down one-on-one for a dinner. Now, true, they've had dinner together, but it's usually at a UWG event. I don't, you know, in my house, that would be spelled as D-I-V-O-R-C. To West Georgia, however, his efforts have been successful for building the foundation of a tremendous university that will be an economic powerhouse for years to come. Madhvi, Anita, Sean, I'll get it right, stand up. These people paid the price for what we have here on campus today.
Hang on a minute, Bob. They said I could do whatever I wanted to do. Oh, Lord. Speaking of paying the price, Bob Stone and several other folks in this room, and many like him, have invested so much in this community. He happens to be here. Let's thank him and everyone else in this room for all they've done for this institution. It's now my pleasure to call to the podium Paul Cadenhead. Paul graduated from West Georgia College in 1944, a World War II veteran, attorney, philanthropist, and also a recipient of the University of West Georgia Honorary Doctor of Humane Letters degree. Mr. Cadenhead practiced law in Atlanta since graduation and has been elected president of practically every organization of his profession in Atlanta. The first lawyer in Atlanta's history to receive all 3 of the highest awards of the Atlanta Bar Association, and the only holder of the Atlanta Bar Association's resolution and plaque for services in the highest tradition of the legal profession. Married to Sarah Davenport Cadenhead, also a 1944 graduate of West Georgia College. Let's welcome to the podium Mr. Paul Cadenhead.
You can tell by looking that I probably go further back with West Georgia than anybody in the room. I came to this campus 70 years ago this June, and I have never left West Georgia, and West Georgia has never left me. So I'm going to be serious and do some reviewing that ties the present to the future. And I'm going to direct my remarks directly to Dr. Sethna, not the audience, because I think Dr. Sethna came to us as an instrument of change, a change that broadened and deepened us, but a change that was difficult for him. He came at a time and under circumstances where the commitment to excellence in education in a personal environment was vital. He accomplished that. So let's look at some of the difficulties. Dr. Sethna, you were the first person from India ever to hold the presidency of a university in the United States. Yeah. You were the first president of any minority in Georgia to hold the presidency of a university in Georgia, except, of course, those historic black colleges and universities. This very fact produced significant headwinds against your progress. But instead of surrendering to the headwinds, you became like a seasoned sea captain. You tacked your sails so as to go into the wind rather than being blown by the storm. You met or personified the poet who said, "It is the set of the sails and not the gales that determine where we go." You piloted a regional West Georgia college through the State University of West Georgia to the Grand University of West Georgia. Through your West Georgia, you became SACS, or produced for us a SACS Level 6 university, the highest rating given by that rating board. We became equal in the ratings with the University of Georgia, Georgia Tech, Texas A&M, and all of the other great universities. Now, how did we come to that? En route to this standing, you more than doubled the statistics of all of your predecessors in acreage, in the campus, in buildings, in square footage. You personally granted more degrees than all of your predecessors combined. And on the endowment level, you went above all of your predecessors by a factor of 10. Prior to your coming, West Georgia had never granted a PhD degree. You have granted 86 of those degrees. Yeah. West Georgia had never granted an honorary doctorate, and under your directions, 14 of them have been directed. So in short, you provided from a regional college to a nationally accredited university, which you will deliver to your successor. Now, beneath these statistics are some facts that I think everybody ought to hear. These statistics that we've mentioned are, they grab us, but beneath those is your mission of educational excellence in a personal environment. You produced a debate team that on multiple occasions outperformed Harvard University. Papers prepared by our honor students here, more of them were accepted by the National Collegiate Honors Council than any other university in the United States. That's excellence in education with a personal environment. Then at the National Social Science Association, the research papers of the winners were on a class personally taught by you as a professor. You can't beat that. You are a personal exhibit to the mission you established of excellence in education in a personal environment. Now I echo what some of the others have said. Your emails as late as midnight and as early as 4 o'clock in the morning. I have been recipient of that and was very thankful for such things as email rather than awakening phone call. Now, I want to go back, as I said, I have a little history at West Georgia and see what has evolved in the past and what you have done and what will happen based on what you have done. The inner qualities of the person is what endears you to all of us. You grew up in India in a family of modest means, but your father had a vision. He wanted you to be an engineer from that institution there. Your endless desire for knowledge cause you to forever reach beyond your grasp. You could grasp, but you would reach beyond that. Again, you personified a poet, Robert Browning, who said, "Our reach must exceed our grasp, or what are the heavens for?" That grasp and your desire is embedded in the national memory now, in the memory of the University of West Georgia. And going back across my 70 years here, I see the first president of this institution, then a junior college, and the current president, looking back across the greater portion of that century and shaking hands as they taught the youth to reach beyond their grasp. Dr. Ingram, the first president whom I loved and to whom I owe so much, brought to this campus youth from creek banks and tenant farms and taught them to reach beyond their current grasp. You have brought the intellectually talented youth to our advanced academy and started them reaching early and far. West Georgia is indebted to you as a professor, not only as president, perhaps your greatest need, greatest contribution, even though all your contributions as president have been outlined, is you personally taught in a classroom and taught these students to reach beyond their current grasp. Both presidents, you and Dr. Ingram, have instilled in this institution that memory, and that is part of excellence in education in a personal environment. By doing that, you have contributed to an attack on the fictional educational firewall that separates the privileged from the unprivileged. That has been since day one an institution of Dr. Ingram, and now goes on with you. Because, as has been said, when you leave us as president, you still teach students here to reach beyond their grasp. And while it has not been mentioned, during your summer break from Professor, you will go back to your native India, where you will live with, not in a college dormitory, but live in an orphanage with underprivileged orphans, where you will teach in your supposed time off. That is a reach far beyond your grasp, and we applaud you in it. Now your time here. You have, in the almost 32 degrees that you have handed out, you have planted trees under the shade of which you will never sit. But those whom you have taught, those who share your excellence in education, will carry your message far beyond your lifetime, and it will compound and be spread. You have expanded your own personal reach, just as you have taught others to expand theirs. Now, back to the first analogy of setting your sail to go into a storm. That same poet, Wilcox, concluded that poem with this, and that is that those sails and your inner soul, the very person that you are synonymous. Listen to it, and it beautifully describes you. Like the winds of the sea or the waves of time, as we journey along through life, 'tis the set of the soul that determines the goal, and not the calm or the strife. Dr. Sethna, your life inspires us, and your friendship with us will endure forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul Cadenhead. It's now my pleasure to bring to the podium Mayor Wayne Garner. Mayor Garner was elected mayor of Carrollton in November of 2003. He's lived all of his life in Georgia, graduated from Douglas County High School, attended West Georgia College. Mayor Garner served in the Georgia State Senate from 1980 until 1993. In April of 1993, Mr. Garner was appointed to the Georgia Board of Pardons and Parole by then Governor Zell Miller, where he served as chairman. Mayor Garner is now president of the Garner Group, a governmental affairs firm located in Carrollton, Georgia, which conducts business in Georgia, Alabama, and Washington, D.C. Would you join me as we welcome the mayor of Carrollton, Mayor Wayne Garner?
Thank you very much, and Dr. Sethna, and Sean, and Anita, and Madvi. We're going to miss y'all. You've just been a great part of this community, and just thank you for everything. Being an old country undertaker, this reminds me of a funeral a little bit, but I've never been to one where the honoree was vertical, and I'm glad of that. Let me recognize our city council, Mike, Jim, Gerald, Casey Coleman. If y'all stand up, please. Dr. Sethna, on behalf of the city of Carrollton, I'm delighted to present to you tonight a key to this city and the proclamation. I'm going to let you read this proclamation later on and enjoy it. It's a bit lengthy, and I know the Chancellor just said if I spoke too long, he was going to throw his cup at me, and I've known him a long time. He can hit. But on behalf of the city of Carrollton, we'd like to present you this proclamation and a key to the city.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if I might just for one moment personally, we have gotten to be, not only work together, we have become great friends over these 19 years. I think we talk at least once or twice a week. This is probably one of the kindest men I've ever met in my life, and we thank you for what you've done.
Mayor Garner, thank you. That's got to be the shortest speech I've ever heard from him. He wrote it on his golf cart on the way over here. Well done. You know, I was thinking, congratulations on receiving the key to the city. My wife threw a surprise birthday party when I turned 40. The mayor was then Tracy Stallings. He presented me a key and said, "This is to leave the city. Don't come back." It's a true story. We have another presentation I'd like to call up at this time. Dr. Horvath, who is the Provost, Vice President of Academic Affairs at the University of West Georgia. Before UWG, he was Professor and Dean of the School of Education at Indiana University, South Bend from 2006 to 2011. Professor and Dean of the School of Education at Missouri Southern State University from 1995 until 2006, and Chair of the Department of Teacher Education at Bradley University from 1989 until 1995. Dr. Horvath, would you come and make your presentation as well? Join me as we welcome Provost.
The bowl that I am about to present was crafted by critically acclaimed artist and West Georgia alumnus Philip Moultrie. It is made of red oak harvested from Front Campus Drive along Maple Street. And for many of you in this room, you have very fond memories of Front Campus Drive on Maple Street. This lasting tribute to our campus seems a very appropriate gift for a president who also leaves a lasting legacy of growth. We present this gift to you from your UWG family as a token of thanks for all your years of dedication at the university. Thank you for 19 years of extraordinary service to the University of West Georgia.
If you'll stay for 1 minute. You know, I didn't want to be left out. I saw on this that there were going to be a couple of gifts, and I thought it would be appropriate perhaps to share one as well, but I wanted to give a practical gift. And by the way, how many of you have ever been in Dr. Sethna's office? Would you raise your hand? Many in the room? And you noticed all of those plaques and all of those awards and all. We were up there with, we had some Harvard folks. He couldn't resist telling them about West Georgia whipping Harvard, by the way. But just a couple of weeks ago, we had Harvard folks and Georgia Department of Ed folks, and I'm just sitting back there listening while they're engaging, and I'm looking around at all these honors and awards. I'm like, that's incredible. And he's obviously deserves and earned every single one of them. It's just really impressive. But you know, I found out there's a rule here for students. It was true for my kids and others. When you leave the dormitory, you have to patch up the holes in the wall. And as I looked around, I thought, if that's true for faculty and staff and administration and the university president, it's going to take some time. And so I went by the hardware store and I said, I need to get a little cup of putty, you know, it's about that size, and I want to give it to Dr. Sethna tonight so he can begin to patch these holes. It's going to take a while. He said, how many awards and plaques and so forth does he have? And I said, there had to be 200 or 250, 300, I don't know. He said, well, you're probably going to need this much. And so, Dr. Sethna, I have something for you here. If in event the students have the faculty and staff and the president the same policy of repairing, I just want to help you out here. It's going to take this much. So hang around 1 minute. So I have one other thing to share with you. I understand there's a thank you message in your honor that's being seen on a huge 14 by 48 feet digital billboard across Atlanta. Anybody in the room seen it? I see some hands, okay. From I-185 North and 400 and I-75 South and Central Avenue and I-75 North and Marietta Parkway to Johnson Ferry to Stone Mountain to 285 South and Cobb Drive. Over 1 million people a week over the past 2 weeks have had the opportunity to see the message. Wow, talk about a big thank you card. Congratulations.
We are here to honor you, and we wish you all the best.
As you depart from Sanford Hall, we hope you get some rest. We're grateful for the years you've shared. With the best you'll be compared. Dr. Sethna thanks a lot.
Thank you all. Dr. Sethna, we've had our say, our chance. Would you come and take the podium and share with us now? Please, let's welcome Dr. Baru Sethna.
Thank you so much. Thank you all of you. Thank you so much. I'm extremely grateful and humbled. I'm going to separate my remarks into a few parts. My first part is entitled, A Floppy Disk and God. Let me tell you a little story. I started my academic career in a place called Potsdam, New York, at Clarkson University. Clarkson is a high STEM, high research doctoral institution, and it is based in Potsdam, New York. And Potsdam, New York measures snow in feet. Nobody talks of how many inches of snow fell. It's measured in feet, and the temperature fluctuates very considerably. You go to work one day when the temperature is a balmy 32 degrees, and it could drop to 0 during the day. And I knew that. I spent 13 years at that place. I knew that, of course, but I didn't realize that it could go in the other direction as well. And one day, I had a floppy disk. Now, I hope all of you know what a floppy disk is. A floppy disk full of very important data for a substantial research paper that I was doing. And that was truly a path-breaking piece of research. Not all of my research has been path-breaking, but this one was. And I left it on my windshield. And nobody locks their cars in Potsdam. Really, you think I'm talking about a fake place? I'm not kidding you. People don't lock their cars, and so I just put it on there, and a student came up to my door. I started talking to him, and I sort of drifted away, and the disk stayed on the windshield of my car. When I came back in the evening, it was shaped like that. There were bubbles and so on the disk, and I was devastated when I saw that. What I was able to do, though, after I recovered from my heart attack, was to remove the inside of the disk. It was the cover that was bad. I removed the inside of the disk, put it in another cover, put it in a computer, and lo and behold, the data was there. And when that happened, of course, I said a silent prayer to God, but one of my colleagues who saw this said, "You are luckier than you deserve to be." And I was struck by that statement, and I'm reminded of that statement today. I'm luckier than I deserve to be. Thanks to all of you. Thanks, first of all, to God. And that's why I tie the floppy disk to God. Because I truly am luckier than I deserve to be. I've had the most wonderful parents who set high bars for me. They passed away now, but I never forget them. I've been blessed with my wife, Madhvi, of almost 39 years. And she has put up with a lot, really a lot. She claims that West Georgia is the other woman, and that I'm being unfaithful to her. And in a sense, she is right. We have been blessed with the two most wonderful children on the surface of this earth. Anita and Sean have been so great to us. There is nothing short of divine blessing that could have created that. And then they got married to two wonderful, wonderful other people. So would you all just rise, all 5 of you, please rise and be recognized. Thank you. Thank you. Anita is a physician and married to another physician. Sean is an attorney and married to another attorney. And we are truly blessed. One of my colleagues said when Sean was getting married, because she already knew of Anita and Rob's marriage, and Sean and Sunita were getting married. And she said, if you accomplish nothing else in life, this will be sufficient. And she was right. I certainly thank everyone in this room. Thank Chancellor Huckabee and former Chancellor Davis. I thank all of you who've come. The Consul General of India, Consul General Ajit Kumar and his wife Margaret are here, and I thank both of you for being here. I thank the faculty, the staff, the students. There are actually 3 students in this room who have survived Dr. Sethna's class, and they deserve a great applause. All 3 of them have made national presentations of their research, and I'm very proud of all of them. One of them has actually won the first prize in the nation in undergraduate research. We're just very proud of you, Amin, Aman, and Ayan. Thank you for being here. And family of mine have come from all over the United States, and I thank them too. And one has come from India, Dr. Kazaruni. Sharmila, thank you for being here as well. Thank you to the alumni and supporters. Thank you to all of you. I am truly luckier than I deserve to be. I've written an article for the Times Georgian, a column. I've written this several times during my career, maybe about every 5 years. The next one, I hope, will be published soon. It's always a hope because in typical Behrooz fashion, my column is about twice as long as it should be. And so Leonard is saying, I'm trying to figure out a way to put it in the Times Georgian, but I hope you see it, because all 3 or 4 articles have been entitled the same. It says, don't look at me, somebody else did it. And I start off in the same fashion, each of these columns over the last several years. I said that phrase, don't look at me, he did it, she did it, is a typical way that you deflect blame. And I start the article by saying that I too am pointing the finger away from me and to someone else. And what I'm doing is pointing the finger not of blame, but of credit. And I want to share credit with a lot of people. I've done this, as I said, every 5 years I do it. I list people by name. And if Leonard comes through, Leonard Woolsey comes through, then we will see another article pretty soon. I mean what I say. I am simply an instrument over here, a cog in a wheel. I don't teach these these thousands of students. I teach a few of them. I don't build buildings. I don't design curricula. The faculty, the staff, my colleagues, my students make all this happen. So I am not, I'm very humble about this and do deflect the finger of credit away from me. I'm strongly of the opinion that West Georgia is doing incredible things and will continue to do incredible things. I am a strong supporter of the Chancellor's choice for the next president, and I want all of you to know that I stand ready to serve both the Chancellor and the university system, the Board of Regents, and that next president, Dr. Marrero. And I will have the pleasure of introducing him about a week from now when he comes for commencement on Saturday week morning. So again, I end my first part with profound thanks. I am truly luckier than I deserve to be, and it's not all about a floppy disk. It's about the wonderful things that all of you have accomplished. My second part of my remarks also involves a floppy disk, but in another way. So if I've deflected all this credit, the question then arises, what does a president actually do? If everyone else gets the credit, then what on earth do we have presidents for? And thanks, of course, to my colleague presidents for being here. And of course, these wonderful people do great work. But one of the things, probably the only real thing that I will take credit for is coming to West Georgia and setting a vision, an impatient vision. West Georgia in 1994, when I arrived, was already a nice place. We had good values. This is before I ever set foot on this campus. We had great values. We valued students. We valued teaching. However, we lacked a true vision for the future. The chancellor who interviewed me at that time actually used this phrase during the interview. He said, West Georgia is a nice place that has been asleep for 20 years. And he charged me to wake it up. And I think all of you will agree that we have done that. The first class I taught at West Georgia was not a marketing class. I'm also qualified in information systems, so I taught a beginning information systems class in a lab in the Richards College of Business. It wasn't the Richards College of Business then, but in the College of Business. Sorry, it was the School of Business then. And that lab, the two adjoining labs, and the computers had no hard disks. So I had to come, it was an 8 a.m. class, I had to arrive at 7:30 a.m. and boot up every computer with a floppy disk. There was no memory, I mean there was no hard drive over there, so I had to boot this up, turn the key, have it chop through, suck all the stuff into RAM, open the thing, take out the floppy disk and put it in the next computer. This is how I started my day on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Or maybe I think it was a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class at that time, so 3 times a week. Fast forward from that time to our next SACS review, where we actually got a commendation in technology. So we moved a long way in a very short time. But one of the things that I did when I arrived here was talk to a lot of people, learn a lot, and then I made my first speech to the faculty. And my first speech to the faculty was in sort of probably late September or 3rd week of September in 1994. At that time we were on the quarter system, so that's when the year started. And I was not going to talk of a modest vision. There was an architect called Bonham who said, make no little plans. They have no magic to stir people's blood. So I talked of Harvard. And I talked of West Georgia having a vision that one day they will beat Harvard, and you've already seen that has happened multiple times. I also had a vision that we would define niches, that we would become nationally excellent in. And thanks to the faculty we have in a number of things, including undergraduate research, but not restricted to that, because every college at this institution and school has national cause for acclaim. So we've done that. But when I made this speech about Harvard, when we were still dealing with rotary phones, to say, put it mildly, the faculty thought that I was nuts. And actually I had a senior faculty member actually tell me, said, don't talk to me about Harvard when I'm dealing with rotary phones. Well, you know, as I said, about half the faculty probably thought I was nuts, the other half knew I was nuts. So we had unanimity of some kind. But then something happened. You know, that was 94. Do we have that slide? This speech was September of 94. In November of 94, those of you who remember your political science, there was the big Republican takeover of the House of Representatives for the first time in decades. Now, this is not a political speech, please. I'm apolitical. I'm not making any political statements. And Newsweek did an article. That article, you note that I'm not looking at the slide. That article appeared on page 48, November 21st. The reason I remember this, November 21st of 1994, is because they had a serious review of the Republican takeover, but they also had a fun kind of piece called Capital Chic. And they said Barbara Streisand is out, and Pat Sajak is in, and who's out and who's in. And in one of those, please hit enter, one of those lower down in the column had this, and hit it one more time. One more time. This is actually appeared in Newsweek. November 21st, page 48. I've always remembered that because I rubbed that page into everyone's face along. Well, we didn't earn this, but from that day onwards, we have earned all the things that we have done. And I'm happy that we had that big, bold vision to move forward. Let me talk about July 1 of this year. A lot of change for me is coming. I have a lot of learning to do. While I have been an active professor in both teaching and research, I know nothing whatsoever about what goes in Area E or Area F or Area C, or I have no clue. And so I've got a lot of learning to do as I advise students and so on. I will also have some learning to do because I'll find out who my real friends are on July 1. Who will return my calls? A lot of learning. There are several things that I will not miss, and there are several things that I will. I will not miss 7 a.m. breakfast meetings in Atlanta. That I won't miss. I will not miss some of the trappings of the office. People have talked about my office. One of the things that you should do is visit my office. It is exactly, the fixtures are exactly as Dr. Townsend left them. In fact, Bruce Lyon, when he was interim president, probably put in some drapes, but I think the blinds predate Bruce Lyon, even Bruce Lyon. And I don't mean predate his presidency. I mean, it may even predate Bruce Lyon. So I have not reveled in any trappings of office, so that's not something I'm going to miss. I will miss my parking spot. That I will miss. Most of all, I'll miss the people I deal with on a regular basis. I will miss my colleague presidents. I will miss my senior leadership team. I will miss several individuals. One of these names you probably don't know, but Doyle Foles. If you know Doyle, I'll miss Doyle a lot. Most of all, from my office, I'll miss Tina Bennett. Tina, stand, please. Thank you. Thank you. Tina gets a special mention in that article. Don't look at me, somebody else does it. Let me wrap this up by saying my inauguration speech decades ago ended with the phrase, live long and prosper. And if we are to believe even a fraction of what the speakers have said, particularly Paul and others, the prosper part has been true. And depending upon who you ask, it has been live long or live long. And I can give you a couple of faculty members at West Georgia will tell you it's long. But anyway, it has been a good time. I have had the honor and the pleasure to serve West Georgia College, the State University of West Georgia, and the University of West Georgia. So 3 presidencies, the same office. And it really is a point of pride. When I came here, many people, some of whom are in this room, really believed that I'd be here for a few years, maybe even a couple of years, and move to a bigger, better, and more prestigious place. There were a lot of people in town who believed that. Ladies and gentlemen, all of them were right. I did. Within a couple of years, I moved to a bigger, better, and more prestigious place. And every couple of years since then, I've done the same thing. I've always moved. Every few years, I've moved to a bigger, better, and more prestigious place. And you have made it so. You have made it happen. So I'm going to end the same way I ended my inauguration speech. My wish for you, each one of you, and my wish for the University of West Georgia is live long and prosper.
A couple more remarks and we will be out of here. I hate to bring this to a close. This has been a fun evening, hasn't it? It really has. Let me say a couple of things. One, you've got your booklet. Many sponsors made this event possible tonight. Please look through the book. Those around you and others you know, please thank them for being sponsors. Also, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't recognize the planning committee for this event, Danielle Tackett, chair, Jamie Bauer, co-chair, all of those on the committee who put this together. Please stand and let us recognize you.
I want to add my personal thanks. Danielle, where are you? Danielle, where are you? She left the room. She can't leave the room. Well, please, again, all of the committee members, thank you very, very much. I really appreciate all you've done. Danielle, thank you for that.